Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Drifting Home, which is animated by Studio Colorido, and if you've seen their work on the Burn the Witch episodes, you'd basically understand that they're an animation studio that's actually been pretty much on the up and up when it comes to anime adaptations as well as with feature films. And with this one, it happens to have a really imaginative idea that, while it doesn't take full advantage of said idea, I do think it has enough interesting moments and enough inventive scenarios to make it worth a watch. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story revolves around two kids, Kosuke and Natsume, who were very close when they were young children, but have since drifted apart ever since the death of Kosuke's grandfather. And when they're about to head off to summer vacation, Kosuke and Natsume and a few of their friends end up exploring a housing complex that they were at quite a bit when they were kids. It has a lot of memories for them, you see. But while they're playing around the housing complex, an event happens that causes the housing complex to drift off into the sea, forcing the kids to struggle to find supplies while they also try to figure out their emotional understandings with each other's, and while Kosuke and Natsume try to rekindle their relationship while also meeting a strange being known as Nopo. And that's all I'll say about the story. The story here does have a fairly uninteresting beginning, as it does have those more generic aspects of a lot of these films, where the main leads don't get along, where they happen to argue and bicker throughout the majority of the opening, and they happen to have a better understanding for each other as the film goes on. Yeah, when the kids actually do go out to the sea and when they actually have to struggle to survive and gather supplies and find a way back home, that part of the film, which is thankfully the majority of it, is pretty inventive, pretty fun, and even pretty heartfelt in some cases. It's just the opening 10 to 15 minutes that might drag for a few people. On top of that, while the film isn't very long, only about 1 hour and 52 minutes, not counting the credits, I would have shaved maybe 15 or 20 minutes off the overall film, as certain scenes do tend to drag when it comes to this, especially when it comes to certain scenes involving Nopo. I understand a lot of his character does have to feel very non-human, such as his very monotone performance in both Japanese and English, but it does feel like he's a character who wasn't fully figured out or fleshed out all the way. Especially considering that perhaps he's really a character who maybe shouldn't have been there at all. I think if the whole situation where Kosuke and Natsume ended up at sea was left ambiguous, it probably would have been a little more interesting. And a more simple story and streamlined one about two childhood friends who try to reconnect after a traumatic death happens, could have made for a more a more interesting kids film that had a more intricate base in what would keep people entertained for the reasonable amount of time. But that's what the movie mostly focuses on, and that's where the charm and likability of it comes from. It's not exactly what I'd call Studio Colorido's best work, but the animation, voice acting, and the overall strangeness of the film do keep it entertaining for as long as it needs to be there. So that's why I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. See you next time.